Hi, my name is Hannah Hess. I am the author of Honest Deceptions. It's about the choices we make in life and the consequences that come back to bite us many years down the line. I was trying to write a story that people would enjoy reading, and the fact that part of it takes place in the Holocaust, I think, adds a layer to the story. But I was interested in the characters and the decisions they have to make as a result of the situation that they found themselves in. The idea for Honest Deceptions came to me long ago. Having come from Nazi Germany, I've been thinking about the situation and what I would have done, and one day it just came to me that what would happen if there were two families, one Jewish, one not, each with a child, the Christian child retarded, the Jewish child not, and what would happen if the Jewish family were stranded in Germany and the Christian family said, since our child is doomed anyway, let's save one child by switching kids. And as it develops, the younger sister of the Jewish boy who has gotten out of the country wants to know what happened to her father and brother, and so she goes back to find out. The book is not a Holocaust story per se, but it certainly addresses the Holocaust and the questions that I have asked myself over the years, which are, how do people maintain their integrity in a terrible time? The nice thing about writing books is that you can, through your characters, you can do the right thing without having to take the consequences of it. And that's one of the joys of fiction writing. My background is that I was born in Germany in 1934, which was not a good time for a Jewish kid to be born in Germany, but my parents apparently didn't think that, and there I was. Hitler came to power in Germany in 1933, and by 1934, Jews were restricted in all sorts of ways, and my mother began to think that it was time for us to leave Germany. My dad, however, who was an ardent Zionist, only wanted to go to Palestine. He felt that we had been German citizens for hundreds of years, and suddenly we weren't citizens anymore. If we went someplace else, even if the country was hospitable for a while, eventually the same thing would happen. In 1937, he was helping my grandfather, who was a farmer, with the haying, and he had a massive heart attack, and he died. And as soon as my mother finished the period of mourning, she began haunting consulates and embassies, looking for some country that would take us. And Ecuador was willing to take us, and so we went to Ecuador. We came from Ecuador to Washington Heights, where we had several aunts and uncles living and where many other German Jews had settled. That essentially is my background, and I think it's what motivated me to write this book. One of the things that I wanted to show is that the people in Germany were not monolithic either, even during the Nazi period. Not everybody was a dyed-in-the-wool Nazi, and there were obviously many degrees of opinion, and what one did with them obviously also depended on how brave one was. The title, Honest Deceptions, it's an oxymoron. At the same time, some of the choices that are made early in the book were made honestly and with the best of intentions, and ended up being deceptions only down the line. And so I thought that it was really a good way of summarizing that thread of the story. Why did I start writing mystery stories? Somewhere down the way I began reading mystery stories, and I enjoyed the genre. So I thought, if those folks can write novels, I can write novels as well. So I've really been writing ever since and have many books in my bureau drawer which have not been published. I've written non-mystery stories as well, but I like the genre, and I think it's a good way to develop character and situation in an interesting way and to make all sorts of comments about life and the world, but do it through the medium of the mystery. Essentially, once the characters were there, they took on a life of their own, and I was simply the amanuensis. After Jack Estes, the publisher of Pleasure Boat Studios, published Walter, my husband's book of poems, I asked him whether he would like to take a look at one of my many novels, and he said yes, and I sent him the manuscript, and he emailed me saying how much he had enjoyed it, and indeed the following year he published it. Having my first novel published at age 80 was wonderful. It probably would have been even more wonderful if it had been published at age 40, but it's been wonderful. One of the things that's made me feel good about going out and speaking to people is the enthusiasm of the people who've read it. People have said to me, well, I was going to read a chapter last night and then pick it up tomorrow, and next thing it was morning and I was finishing the book. So that's obviously a very wonderful feeling. People have asked, what was it that I wanted to say? And I think what I wanted to say in the book is that things are not black and white, that the choices that people had to make in Nazi Germany were difficult choices. I don't know what I, as a Christian in Germany, would have done under similar circumstances. It's easy when one is sitting in one's living room or in front of a class to say, yes, I would be heroic, I would do the right thing. I don't know whether, I hope I would have done the right thing, and I think that the answer is that one has to do the right thing before it gets to the point where you can't make the choices anymore. And that's what I used to say to my students when the question came up, and I hope that's what people take away from this book as well.